Actually, I'm going to move us to the third one. I'm going to move us to, because
Okay.
the thing is I could literally have an interview with you for each of these. So
Okay.
the third critical choice I made, which was to build trust in myself. I had to first build trust in myself before I could ever figure out how to inspire the trust of others. So if
Mhm.
it's okay with you, I'd like to start with building trust in yourself, but then I also want to take it to how do people inspire your trust? Because you're a
Mhm.
leader, and I want to get your perspective on that. But can we start with how do you build trust, or have you built trust in yourself? And is there a story,
Yeah.
even if there's a story or an example where you've had to?
Mhm. Yeah, it's hard. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that much. It is not. It is not an easy feat to build trust in yourself. Um, I think, and I'll take it back to, it was probably about 8 years ago, and there was, for those familiar with the industry that I'm in, which is the automotive OEM. So, okay, so as I was saying, the industry is cyclical, and there was a point in time where, the company was offering voluntary separation packages to people in the organization. And because of my tenure, I would have, garnered a really decent package. And at the time in my career, in my role, I was kind of trying to figure things out, to be honest with you. I was doing work that I wasn't sure was still serving me, and I knew I was still serving the organization, but I wasn't sure if it was still serving me and my purpose. And obviously I was gainfully employed, which was always a blessing, but I wasn't sure if that was something I wanted to continue to do. So I remember talking to my manager at the time because, in addition to myself taking this into consideration, I also had to provide information on my team.
Hmm.
And I've always been fortunate enough to have these very close knit teams. And anyway, I'll fast forward to the conversation with my manager, and he asked me if anyone on my team had been considering taking, the separation, and I said yes, everyone, including me.
Yeah.
And the pause on his face was pretty interesting. And I want to say, not for the first time, but let's say I felt so liberated in that moment because I didn't have anything else lined up. I didn't have, so I had to really trust. I had talked to my husband, I talked to my parents about it, and they were like, if you're really that unhappy, or this is an opportunity, you're marketable, you'll find something within, the time frame that you'll have. And I really felt liberated, but I really felt I had to trust myself to even take that chance, which is interesting because it's a two-way. It goes back to the two-way agreement too, because they could have easily, because what I did not mention is it was either you could take the package or I could have potentially been laid off.
Oh,
So I was really taking a
that is
chance.
risk, right?
Right. So I wasn't sure if I was going to be impacted by the layoff, or, if I should just, kind of write my own fate and take the package. So obviously I'm still here. But
Right.
as I mentioned, 25 years next month. But again, I trusted myself in having a conversation that I may not have had otherwise about what value I felt that I brought and how I didn't feel like I was being valued. It forced a conversation that so many of us don't have. And we just decide to move on, or go seek other opportunities without because we make these stories up in our head
For sure.
about a lot of times, right? About what we should try to do, or, how the organization feels about you. We make up these stories in our head all the time. So it really, I think from that time on, I felt extremely liberated, and where I could be my authentic self, because I was like, well, what I mean, I could say, what do you have to lose? But I mean, there's plenty I could have
Yeah,
lost.
you had something to lose.
Yeah, but I really, I felt, and hopefully that's, you're good with that example, because I really felt like, I had to really trust myself, and whatever the outcome, I was going to figure it out.
And I love the example. And it also brings home your comment about communication,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because you had to choose to trust yourself, your being, by communicating your truth
Mm-hmm.
in this
Yeah.
situation where you had something at risk. And if you wouldn't have communicated that, you might not be leading the people you're
Who
leading today,
knows? Who
right?
knows?
People that
Yeah.
you embrace, that you're impacting, that you
Mm-hmm.
embrace that, yes, you are the leader that's impacting these lives. So,
Mm-hmm.
okay, how about this? How do people inspire your trust?
See, I wasn't quite sure in how to answer this. So, inspire my trust. So, how do they inspire me to trust them?
Yeah, yeah. How do they get you? How do they earn your trust?
Well, I don't be off being authentic and doing what you say you're going to do. I mean, it's real simple for me. If you show up when you say you will, those are things that I think, in terms of who I trust and depend on or rely on, because I feel like I am and I had done this like personal assessment thing, and one of the things that I got back continuously was that I was loyal, in a sense, to where, I'm gonna tell it like it is, yet if I tell you I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it. So I feel like I expect, and I want the same from others. So I'll be transparent. I do have a small circle of those that I consider friends, but I do have a wide range of acquaintances. And that's not to say that I trust some more than others. Yet, what I will say is, if you're in any part of any of those circles, you are someone who I feel that I can trust.
There's trust there.
Hmm.
Is
But
there?
trust people was Maya Angelou. The trust, when people tell you who they are, believe them the first time.
Mm,
I'm butchering it up a little bit, but it's pretty. That's the gist of it.
yeah.
Like, when
And
people show you who they are, believe them.
and then, right, until they disprove that.
Hmm.
You you go
Yeah,
in, you go
yeah.
in with the intent. Yeah,
Yeah, it takes a long time. It takes a long time with anything, right? Well, not, I shouldn't say with anything. With trust specifically, it may take a long. Because I'm not one. Because I know some people who just trust off the bat.
right.
But for me, it does take a while. I'll be honest, to develop trust in someone, but it takes to lose it.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I'm
And
trying to
then,
do better. Because
well, but isn't that? I mean, just so my husband and I, Joe, were
Mhm.
sitting outside the other night. Well, now I'm digressing, but I'm going to digress
You're
just
good.
a
You're
little bit.
good.
Our Friday night dates are outside if it's above 40 degrees.
Oh, cute.
His dad comes over. We have a little something to drink. We're always listening to blues music. It's our favorite thing. And we
Oh.
had a discussion that night with his dad. It was all about trust.
Mhm.
And Joe is like, as simple as what you're saying. Listen, it takes a lot to earn my trust. And isn't it something that you could have 20 years of trust, and one moment
Mhm.
can just ruin everything. And I think about
But it's
that
usually,
business
I'm
and
sorry,
personal.
go ahead.
No, I think about that with business and personal.
Yeah. And then think about it, because it's about relationships, and you have to be careful what you trust people with too.
Hmm.
You know, and I had this conversation with my kids too. Like, there are people in your life for different reasons, seasons, all that kind of thing, right? Yet there are people that I'm gonna trust. I'll trust they're gonna be exactly who they are, and they're gonna do exactly what they do. So don't expect. And I had this conversation with my husband as well. Don't expect everyone to be what you are.
Right.
Because you'll always be disappointed, honestly. If you expect people to handle situations or be like you are, you'll be disappointed.
And show up being yourself. Do what you say you're going to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Super simple.
The summary.
One thing that you said is going to lead me to the fourth critical choice. You talked about circles. You have few very close friends, and then you have a lot of acquaintances. And wherever you're at in that, there's a level of trust. Mm-hmm. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Choose and Become interview series. To check out more episodes, go to www.trishkendall.com/podcast. Or go to any of your favorite podcast channels, including YouTube, under Trish Kendall Speaks, and you'll find this interview and more. Choose and become.